The Abscondo Podcast. It's so common how couples argue and blame each other and fight, trying to find blame. Why does this happen? Why do we get into these conversations with, romantic partners, with life partners, our spouses, whatever it may be, about, whose fault is it? And you don't do this, you should do this, you should change. It bothers me when you do this. It drives me crazy. I resent you. I can't, you know what I'm talking about. Almost everyone has been in a relationship where there is this ongoing sort of argument and finger pointing back and forth. And if you've ever been in a relationship that's really falling apart, this just gets worse and worse and worse. And you start to really believe your partner that you're guilty. You start to blame yourself. You start to have shame about things you've done or said. And you really blame yourself for the fact that your relationship is falling apart. Your partner doesn't love you anymore. You broke it. That's the story. Why would a partner make you believe this story? So here's what's really going on, and this I think is interesting. Someone who doesn't feel love for you, okay? Let's just say your partner is not receptive, not intimate with you, not receptive to your touch. There's this resentment, there's this bickering, there are these problems in your relationship. That means your partner isn't feeling love for you, okay? So he or she is going to try to blame that on you because he or she really believes that it is your fault. Your partner's not going to feel very comfortable admitting the fact that, I just don't love you. So it's much easier to say, I would love you again, I would love you perfectly, if you just change this, do this for me. I can't believe you said that 4 months ago, 4 days ago, 4 years ago. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you chatted with that person. I can't believe you cheated on me. Right? It's your fault. So this is the mind solution when love is lost in the relationship, or when a person doesn't feel love and they go to their mind and they say, well, why? What's wrong? What's wrong in a relationship? Well, it can't be me. It can't be that I don't know what love is. And we'll get to that. It must be that my partner is doing something wrong and making it impossible for me to love him or her. So the person who is constantly gaslighting you, constantly blaming and shaming and pointing fingers at you and blaming all the problems on you is a person who just believes the mind solution, the ego solution, the voice in the head saying, if I had a new apartment and if we went on vacation, I would be happy again. I would love you. Or, if we had children, I would love you. Or if we had more money, I would feel great again. Or if you just would cook more or clean more or help out more. There's endless lists of things that you have to do for a partner who believes that love, the feeling of love, the experience of love in a relationship flows from this doing. The truth is, a person who believes this and who's asking for these things is a person who doesn't know what love is. She or he may have experienced it before, accidentally, for some amount of time when the voice in the head was disregarded or silent, maybe in the beginning of the relationship, but the person really hasn't established a spiritual practice and hasn't awakened to what love is. So this person is unfortunately seeking love in the realm of doing. It's what you do or don't do that determines the love. And of course, this never works because love is not something you get from the other person. Love is what you are. Love is what is all love is self-love. So, it's become kind of a cliche. They say that you're not ready for a relationship unless you learn how to love yourself. And this is absolutely true because if you don't love yourself completely, you don't even know what love is, and then when something goes wrong, when the love fades or disappears completely in the relationship, since you don't know what it is to begin with, or how to get it, or how to have it, or how to feel it, you do all kinds of crazy things, and a person just becomes crazy, and it's not because they're trying to harm you. It's not because that they're playing games with you. The problem is they actually believe this. They actually believe the voice in the head saying, if only he would do this and this and this, I could get past that and that and that. And she or he may really believe that that's true. So what do? You want the relationship to work. You've been trying for years to make it work. And by the way, I'm not talking about my current relationship. I'm talking about my past relationship. I'm talking about a lot of people who I know, who I talk about these things with. This is the experience. There's one partner, or both of you maybe. You stop feeling the love connection, and you start to blame each other. So there's this ongoing war, this violent conversation, these yelling and arguments and violence, trying to figure out whose fault everything is. Now, why are you doing that? Because you honestly believe that if you can find the fault and prove that it's true and get the other person to agree, and he's going to change these things, that naturally the love will flow back into the relationship. You honestly believe that, so you think it's worthwhile to go around and become violent and abusive to each other. This is a toxic relationship, and this is normal in this insane world. And I will get to the other model, but I want to make sure that you understand one thing. You're not guilty. If your partner doesn't feel love for you, if they feel resentment for you, if they're not intimate with you, it's not your fault. It's not your responsibility to do enough things perfectly enough that she's going to feel what she needs to feel. That's her responsibility to understand what love is, to know love. And all love, as I said before, is self-love. Now we get into the inner dimension. Okay, so this is a relationship that devolves into this war, is one that is trying to seek love in the external form of the relationship, and the doing and the having, not in the being. Love flows from being. Love is what happens within you, because love is what you are. And that's another cliche, but we have to stop and think about these cliches because there's so much truth in them. Okay, so what is love? The ancient Greeks said, know thyself, right? So what is the self? If I said that love is what you are, what I mean to say is your identity is love, that your self is love. You don't need anyone else to give you love, right? Love can be experienced by yourself in a room with no sounds, laying on your back, looking at the ceiling. That is a perfect place to experience perfect love. But you're never going to get there as long as you continue to believe these stories of your relationship, the stories of your partner. As long as you feel the blame and the shame and the guilt for what happened, it's not your fault that your partner doesn't know what love is. That's on him or her to find out for him or herself, just as it's on you. Now, there are wonderful books. One great author I would seriously recommend to anyone who's going through relationship despair. If this sounds familiar, or if you've been through this, where you don't know what to do with yourself. You're in this terrible, toxic war with the person who you love, or you think you love, or claim to love, or want to love, and yet you're out sleeping in the gutter. You're in the car, maybe sleeping in the car and drinking a bottle of vodka, trying to cope. And you don't know what to do. You tried everything, and you just give up, and you think maybe something's wrong with you, and you blame yourself for not being enough. Well, let that go, because now is your chance. This is your most wonderful opportunity in your life to find out that you are love. So I want to seriously recommend a book called Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. That's Ruiz. He has other wonderful books as well, but Mastery of Love is a book that will lift you from this place of despair if you can find a space to just savor each word. Alone. Find some time alone for a couple days even, or at least for a day, for a night. Read this slowly and savor it. Fall in love with yourself. And there are many other books as well. And it is a practice. there is something you have to learn about love. And love is the most important lesson to be learned in our entire lives. Because when you do discover self-love, what happens is this. What happens is you no longer are desperately seeking for, love from other people. Damogul Ruiz tells a wonderful story in one of these books. I think it's probably this one, Mastery of Love. That, imagine you're in your house and you have no food in your kitchen at all, and you're hungry. And then the pizza guy comes trying to sell you pizza. Let's just say, well, that doesn't really happen, but let's imagine that happens. A guy comes to your door, rings your doorbell, and tries to sell you some really crummy pizza, cold and terrible pizza. You will pay almost any price within reason to have that pizza because you think you need that pizza. It's all you have, right? But now imagine a different scenario where your house is filled with the most wonderful food, and you've just prepared yourself a wonderful meal and you've savored it completely. Now the guy comes with his crummy pizza and you say no thanks, okay? So what happens, the meaning of this, of course, is that when you find self-love, you have enough food in your kitchen, you don't need the terrible pizza that these people are trying to serve you in the form of argument and violence and toxic junk, right? So what happens then, because you know what love is and because you have love within, you are love, you extend that to every single person. I mean, if you know what love is, that means you naturally extend it effortlessly. That's what you want to do, is you just give love to everyone, your family, your kids, your neighbor. Jesus said, love thy neighbor as thyself. Do you think this sounds a little bit like what we're saying here? Thyself. We talked about thyself. The self is love. The neighbor is that same love. There's no separation between you on the level of love. So your partner or your ex or whoever it may be, there is no reason to be arguing about anything because you're both love. It's just that you don't know it yet. So you're pointing the finger and you're blaming and you're believing these terrible, tragic stories because your partner wasn't able to discover this yet. But I don't, in this world the way that it is, we're not taught about love. We're not taught in school. We're not taught in movies. It's a shallow, surface level, clinging to a person trying to get love. And that's the way we think about it. And we think that we already know what love is, and we don't know what love is. Unfortunately, it takes the total breakdown in a relationship where there's, often kids involved and money involved, destruction, catastrophe, to convince us, to persuade us to spend a little bit of time maybe figuring out the most important lesson in life. So if you're going through this, or if you have been through this, the reason you're going through it, and what a wonderful time of your life it is, because now you get to read Mastery of Love by Damogul Ruiz. You get to listen to this podcast, and you get to discover that you are love. You have all the love you ever could possibly want already inside you. Can you feel it? Can you feel the energy? Can you feel it like coming from your chest up through you? Can you feel how good that feels when you forgive yourself? When you know that you're not guilty for anything that happened in your relationship? You're not guilty at all. You are perfect love. It's just that you didn't know it yet. Right? So you can forgive the past. The past has nothing to do with anything. Now you can now that you know this and you're firmly rooted in this truth that you're perfect love, which is true, which is, I believe it with total faith. No matter where you are right now, no matter what you've been through, what you're going through, what you've done, if you've cheated 1,000 times on someone, if you've lied for years, you are not guilty. You just didn't know the source of love. And now that you do, now is the time for a spiritual practice, which is no different from saying a love practice, an education about love, an undoing, a cleansing of all the toxic crap that we've learned our entire lives. And now what you're going to find out is if you commit to giving pure, perfect love to everyone, to love thy neighbor as thyself, even your ex, even your ex's parents, you will not have any problems anymore. You will not have this conflict. You will not have anything but perfect, harmonious relationships. And those people who actually want to cling on to that old false model of love, lowercase love, not uppercase love, they're going to leave your life so quickly, and that's okay. It's going to hurt. You got used to that person's form for a long time. But if they can't come along with you on this, and I hope they can, but it's very rare that two people can awaken at the same time, If they can come along with you on this, you're going to have a perfect relationship that never fades. And if they can't come along with you on this, you're going to love them anyway. And you're going to claim your right, your freedom, to be what you are, which is love. Without guilt, without shame. You will set your love free. And you will make no apologies for that. You will know your value. You will be giving. You'll be accepting. You'll be at service to people. You'll be creating. You'll be smiling. You'll be having the most wonderful time. You are not going to agree to anyone's crappy pizza. You're not going to take those rules. You're going to have relationships based on absolutely no rules. Total, complete acceptance. Unconditional love. There can be no conditions to love, or else it isn't love. All those stories about everything you've done wrong, that's just your partner trying to make that true, trying to make that the reason that your partner does not know what love is. Can you forgive yourself? That's the only question. Can you feel the sunshine, the light coming from within? Can you let it go? If you can, you will heal yourself and you will heal the world. I think relationships in this world are completely broken for the most part. You know, I've been through it all. I've been through 22-year marriage along the normal lines of love, the arguments, the violence, even though, you know, it wasn't always that bad. It was some nice moments too, you know. But I've been through it. I've been through this on a level that, like at the deepest level, right? And I came through it, you know, and I found a new relationship 4 or 5 years into it with perfect bliss and perfect love and no rules. And we have a lot of fun. I don't want to go into detail, but we have a lot of fun together. And the more open we are, the more free we are, the more accepting we are, the more honest we are, the more our love grows. I mean, of course, love does come from within, but it's also a lot of fun to share it with someone else who also understands what love is. And if you go down this path, it could be your ex comes along, it could be, or you know, your current partner comes along, it could be someone new, but you are going to fill your life with perfect love, and you're going to become a perfect parent. If you have children, you're going to become the parent that you're meant to be, a loving parent, which is what your kids need. And you're never going to be that loving parent if you're with somebody who's making you feel guilt and shame. You're innocent. You are love. You are perfect. This is not just some kind of bullshit, some kind of things you're supposed to put in your mirror and give yourself affirmations. This is just the simple truth. Right? I'm going to leave this podcast with a song from my last album, Treetops, and the song is called You Are Love.
Oh, how we try to interfere. We do not answer to calls of fear, because there's something new coming through. Thoughts, they finally disappear. That's when you wake up to know that you are love. You know that you are love. Oh, now the light is shining here. Inspired minds that just see clear. Now there's something new, inspiring you, suffering just disappears. That's when you wake up to know that you are love. You know that you are love. Something new inspiring you, the suffering just disappears. That's when